Hello everybody, welcome back to Reading for Vocabulary. I'm Brian Stewart. We're going over lesson 11, talking about the human body, right? But more specifically, wow, that's tall. So we're talking about a person who's really tall in this lesson. We will focus on learning about, learning about Robert Wadlow. Robert Wadlow. Who is Robert Wadlow? He's the tallest man in history. Robert Wadlow is really, really tall. So in this lesson, we'll learn about him. But first, we should go over the vocabulary. Number one, who is this guy? A young kid, right? He's going like this, right? He is a boy who helps people. Wears a uniform. He has a number on his sleeve according to the group he belongs to. Who is he? He's a Boy Scout. A Boy Scout. Boy Scout is a boy who helps people. Boy Scout. It's two words. So Boy Scout. Boy Scout. Okay? Number two, we have a picture of Abraham Lincoln, an American president a long time ago, right? When we think about what happened long ago, we think about the stories of people's lives and events that happened a long time ago. We are talking about history. History. Not his story, no, history. History. Okay? 3. If somebody makes a shirt or pants or something that is made just for you. Only for you, right? Only for you. It's made just for you. Not anybody else. Only for you. What do we say? It is custom. So if a person makes a shirt and measures just your body and makes a shirt just for you, that's a custom shirt. Many times if you're walking around your city, you might see the words custom tailor on some shops. A custom tailor. A tailor is this person here, a person who makes clothing. And custom, they measure it, they make it just for you. So it's very common when people make clothes, you can see custom tailor. Okay, next word. These are different, lots of different pictures here, right? But look at this. It says USA 10 cents. In Korea, you don't usually use these very often. When you go to the post office, they just use a stamp nowadays. I'm just like a chung chung, right? They just punch your letter. But a long time ago, you could buy one of these. It's what we use to send a letter. And of course, I said it before, it's a stamp. A stamp is a small thing. It's like a sticker, right? You know the word sticker, and you lick the back of it and you put it on your envelope. Of course, in America, people lick it. In Korea, they use the glue, right? And they put it onto the pyeonji, the envelope, okay? But a lot of times in Korea, you guys don't use stamps anymore. When I go to the post office, right, the lady, she takes a big stamp, it's called a stamp, but boom, and it puts the ink on the letter. It's not a small stamp, a small piece of paper that I glue, okay? So it's maybe more efficient that way. Okay, but the stamp is what you put on the letter, and people still use stamps in some places. 5, wow, look at this. There's a really small guy here and a really big guy here. Of course, it's trick photography, right? They're using trick photography. Trick photography. Trick photography. It's where the photographer, you know, they move them. He's close, he's far, right? So it's trick photography. But anyway, if you think about this, this person is a very big person. If these two people were at the same distance, not like this, but same, wow, he would be huge. What would he be? He would be a giant. 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 So somebody who's really big, or really big this way, or really tall, we call that person a giant. Okay? Now, here we have not special. Not special family, we just say it's normal. This is a normal family. Many families, you know, mother, father, 3 kids, 2 kids, you know, that's a normal family. Mother, father, 2 or 3 kids, that's very normal. That's average. That's very common. It's normal. Normal. Okay? The next one here, what is this man doing? He's looking up at the surface at the top of the room. It's the part of a room above your head. Of course, we know we have the floor under us. We have walls to the side. But what do we call that on top of us? What is that area of the room that's above our head? We call it a ceiling. 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 So ceiling. It's like C, same pronunciation, different spelling. Ceiling. 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 Very easy. It's the part of the room that's over your head. Ceiling, walls, floor. Okay. The next one here, to gather and save. Remember we were talking about stamps before? These are many types of stamps. Some people like to gather these stamps, I almost said the word, to gather these stamps together and to save them. Maybe they put them in a book. Other people will gather and save coins, like old coins. Some people will gather and save butterflies or other types of bugs. There's many things that you can collect. Collect. Oh, and when you say it, don't say collect, say collect. 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 There's many things that you can collect. You can collect stamps. You can collect coins. You can collect insects, right? Bole. Okay? But when you collect these things, that's the verb. When you have them all together, you can call it a collection. Collection. Collection, that's noun, right? So verb is to collect. But the collection, all of those things together, that's a noun. Do you want to see my stamp collection? I have a big coin collection. Okay? So maybe you have a collection. Some people like to play that card game, right? I don't know what it's called. But you have the different cards, the different characters, and you can, I think it's Yu-Gi-Oh! Something like that. Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm not sure. But people will collect those cards. So there's many, many things that you can collect, and you can have a collection. Okay. Number 9. Oh, look at these 2 kids, right? Not short. Okay, so one kid is short. Maybe she's younger. The older kid, maybe he's older, but he's what? He's tall. Okay, tall. And when we compare them, he is taller than she is. So taller, if you're going to compare. Tall and taller. Short, shorter, right? Short, shorter, tall, taller. Okay? So if you're going to compare them. 10. A place to go and buy things. To go and buy things. If you go to a place like this, what do you call that? It's not a supermarket. This is not a supermarket. It's a store. And there's many small stores downtown, right? You can go in and you can buy certain things. It's a store. Of course, we can say a supermarket is a store, but this is not a supermarket. This is a store. So there are different kinds of stores, different types of stores. Clothing store, toy store, grocery store. Okay, there's many different types of stores. 11. Okay, so what's going on here? To do something for someone else. To do something for someone else. What is he doing? He is doing what for her, right? He is doing something for her. He is helping her. So the man is helping the woman. The woman is not helping the man, right? She's making it more difficult for the man. But the man is helping her. Maybe he's moving her boxes, her clothes, her things from one place to another. So when you help somebody, right? Somebody says, "Can you help me? Can you help carry this box? Sure, I can help you. Okay? Remember the first word we learned was Boy Scout, a boy who helps other people. To help somebody, to do something for someone else. Next one. Does your closet look like this? Are there many shirts in your closet? Many pants? Many socks? Right? Soft cloth that we wear on our bodies. What do we call? Of course, these are called shirts, but we want to talk about not just shirts, but pants, socks, maybe a hat, gloves, all of these things. What do we call them? We call them clothes. Now maybe that's a bit 힘들어, 발음 힘들어요, right? It's a little difficult to pronounce. We say CL, clothes. THES, that's a bit of a difficult pronunciation. Clothes, clothes. Think about this. Do you know this word here? Close. Close the door. That's easy, right? Close the door. This is the same pronunciation. Clothes. I am wearing clothes. But remember, clothes is a noun. Close here is a verb. So make sure you spell it correctly, right? And think about the difference, right? You're not closing the door, you're wearing clothes. But it's the same pronunciation. Clothes. How many clothes do you have? Are you wearing nice clothes today? Or are you wearing casual clothes? Casual clothes is like shorts, right? 반바지. Shorts and a t-shirt. That's casual clothes. Nice clothes or formal clothes is a nice business shirt, long pants, nice shoes. Okay? So you can wear different types of clothes, many different kinds of clothes. Okay. 13. To be the right size. This woman wants to buy a dress. She wants to buy a dress that's not too big, not too small, right? But it should do what? It should fit. It should fit her. It fits her. Fit, in this case, is a verb. It fits her. If we say that, if we say it fits her, it's the right size. It's not too big, not too small, right? If you move, I broke it. You rip it, right? It's just the right size. It fits you. So, does it fit? When you go to the store, you try on a shirt, you try on pants. Think about, does it fit? It fits you well. It's the right size. Number 14, something to sit on. So it looks like this. This is, of course, is in a car, right? Or maybe on a bus, okay? But also you have another one in your room that has legs, not as comfortable, but it's also, you could also call it that. It's a seat, a seat. Something to sit on. It's a seat. You could also say a chair is a place to sit on, but a chair has a seat, right? Where can I sit? Many people say, is there a seat on the bus? Is there a seat in the restaurant? There are no seats. That means no place to sit down. No place to sit down. No seats, no place to sit on. So it's seat, seat. Okay, next one, number 15. Cute girl, right? Where your face, her hair, and ears are. But also, you know, face is eyes, nose, and mouth, chin, cheeks, right? Where are all these things? Where do we say? They're on our head. These things are on our head. Our ears, face, hair, that's all on our head, right? Anything above the neck is our head. Last word, oh, nice picture, all right? A mother or a father. This is a family, right? We have father, mother, child. What do we call just the mother or the father? There's a word we use just to say like one person, right? Whether it's a man or a woman, doesn't matter. It means they have a child. What do we call them? we call him a parent. A parent. A parent is a mother or father. So parent doesn't mean namja or yoja. It can be both, right? Parent is namja, rang, yoja. We don't know. You just say parent. Who is the parent of this child? There's a father and a mother. There's one parent, two parents, right? There's two parents, but we just say parent. Father is namja, mother is yoja, right? Woman. So, and father is man. But parent doesn't matter. It can be man or woman. Okay, that wraps up the words. Let's go over the exercises. In this exercise, we have complete each sentence with a word from the box. So we have the sentences here. We have a blank. We need to use one of these words to fill in the blanks. Let's go over the words. The words are Boy Scout. Boy Scout. Second word, stamps. Stamps. Next one, normal. Normal. Okay? Next one is collect. Collect. This one down here, history. History. Next one, custom. Custom. The next one is ceiling. Ceiling. And the next one is giant. Giant. Okay? Number one, Robert was as tall as a tree. How tall are trees? Go outside, look at a tree. Oh my gosh, it's really tall. So if somebody is as tall as a tree, he was a what? What was he? Was he a Boy Scout? That doesn't make sense because Boy Scouts are usually short. You know, Boy Scouts are different heights. Boy Scouts aren't as tall as a tree. Who is as tall as a tree? Of course, a giant is as tall as a tree. He was a giant, right? If a person is as tall as a tree, they're really big, really tall. They are a giant. Number two, we study beep to learn about the past. About the past. Things that happened a long time ago, right? What is that? That, of course, is history. We study history to learn about the past. Okay, number three. Robert was a beep baby. He was small and cute. Now, babies are small and cute. That's ordinary, right? Most babies, almost all babies, are small and cute. That's not different. That's typical. That is normal. That's usual, right? The usual case. He was a normal baby. There was nothing special or different about him. He was a normal baby, small and cute. Number four, he was so tall that, right? When you use so, you're expecting to hear that. So tall that, so cold that, so hot that, okay? He was so tall that his head touched the what, right? If you're in a room, there's a floor on the bottom, walls on the side, but think about a giant, somebody who's really tall. Their head touches what? What's on the top there? Of course, ceiling. He was so tall that his head touched the ceiling. Okay? Number five, Robert had beep clothes. What kind of clothes? We need to look at the second sentence. They were made just for him. Just for him. So remember, if something is made just for you, it is custom. Robert had custom clothes. They were made just for him. Okay, number six. He has all kinds of coins, right? Somebody who gathers many different types of coins. He likes to do what? Of course, if he gathers these many different types of coins, he has a large collection of coins. It means he likes to collect. He likes to collect them. So he has a large collection. Okay, number seven. Robert was a beep and he could help people. So Robert was a what? A person who helps people. Which one is a person who helps people? It's over here, isn't it? Robert was a Boy Scout and he could help people. Okay. And eight, you need beep to mail a letter. We talked about that, right? Of course, people don't use them in Korea that often these days, but a while ago, and you can still get them, right? It's a little piece of paper, you put glue on the back, and you stick it to your pyeonji, your envelope. What is it? It's stamp, right? You need stamps to mail a letter. Maybe one stamp, maybe several stamps, right? If you have to get the right number, right? So, of course, people had to buy the right number of stamps. That was a little 힘들어. So nowadays, they just use the stamper, and it gives you the exact amount, how much you need. And that's why people don't use stamps that much anymore, because it's easier. Okay, but anyway, those are our words. We're going to need to know those words for the reading, which is coming up soon after the break. So don't go away. Okay, let's continue with the reading. We're going to read about Robert Wadlow. He's the tallest man in history. So let's take a look at the reading. The reading starts off with a little imagination exercise, right? It says, think. Think of the tallest person you know. So in your head, imagine, who is the tallest person you know? Maybe your older brother, probably your father, right? Or maybe an uncle who's really tall. Think of the tallest person you know. Does their head touch the ceiling? Okay? Does that person's head touch the ceiling? Are they so tall that their head touches the ceiling? If not, then they are not as tall as Robert Wadlow was. So these sentences here are trying to give you an idea about the subject of the reading passage, Robert Wadlow. Basically, what these sentences are making you do, think about the tallest person. Probably the tallest person you know is not as tall, so tall that their head touches the ceiling. Probably not. Because they want you to think about that because Robert Wadlow was taller than the tallest person you can think of. That's what these sentences are doing. They're trying to make you think of the tallest person you know and then saying, well, do you think that's tall? Robert Wadlow was even taller than that. Okay? So that's what the first sentences are doing. And then it says, he, of course, Robert Wadlow. Robert Wadlow is the tallest man in history. In history. Robert Wadlow is dead. He's not alive anymore. But we still use is because we're talking about in all of history. He is the tallest man in history. Even though he's dead, we don't say he was. If we say he was the tallest man in history, that means somebody else later on was taller than him. But there's nobody. He is the tallest man in history. He is the tallest person who ever lived. Okay? That's what that means. And he still is. 아직도 있어요, right? He still is, so we use present tense is. He is the tallest man in history. Robert Wadlow was a normal-sized baby. So it's interesting to think. Robert Wadlow, when he was born, he wasn't a giant baby. He was a normal-sized baby. Nobody knew that he would grow to be so tall. He was a normal-sized baby. His parents could carry him around, right? Parents carry their children around very often. It wasn't difficult because he was normal-sized baby. But all that soon changed. All that, the fact that he was normal-sized, that's what that refers to. All that is the normal-sized baby. It all changed very quickly. At the age of 4 means when he was 4 years old, he was 165 centimeters? That's crazy, right? Think about that. Are you 165 centimeters? And you're probably not 4 years old, right? Think about when you were 4 years old. You were probably about that high. That's not 165 centimeters, right? That's crazy. That's really tall for a 4-year-old boy. That's almost as tall as some grown men. Adults men who are 165 centimeters, right? He's 4 years old and he's this high. Wow. He was as big as some adults, as big as some adults. Like we said, many adults are only 165 centimeters. But he's only 4 years old, and he's as tall as some adults. Robert kept growing. He kept growing. That means he didn't stop. He kept growing. By age 10, that means when he was 10 years old. By age 10, he was 200 centimeters tall. Oh my gosh, I'm only about 180 centimeters, about that. So he was 10 years old. He's, way up here. He's a lot taller than I am, right? And he's only 10. Wow. Okay. And he weighed 100 kilograms, right? Wow. That is as big. That's bigger than I am, right? He was much taller than his father. Of course, yeah, much taller than his father. So his father wasn't a giant, but Robert was. It seems like Robert had normal-sized parents, father and mother. But Robert just grew like this giant out of nowhere. Why? It's amazing. Actually, this is a picture of Robert. You can see how tall he is. This is a normal-sized woman. A normal size, well, the man is, of course, not standing on top. But even if the man was up here, right, he'd only come up to about right there. Look at this little boy, right? He's only as high as Robert's waist. Okay? Okay. Still, Robert did the same things as most boys his age. So still is like, even though he was so tall, he still did the same things other boys did. He collected stamps and liked taking pictures. So many boys did that. They collected stamps, they took pictures. He was also a Boy Scout for many years. Robert liked helping people. But if you think about that, right? Robert was a really tall, young boy. But he wanted to do things just like any other boys. It must have been hard for him. It doesn't say that here, but we can think many people probably thought something was strange. Here's this man who's a Boy Scout. Here's this man who's collecting stamps. Maybe they didn't understand. So his life may have been a little bit difficult. It doesn't say that here, but we can just think about that. But he just wanted to be like a normal boy, right? He wanted to do the same things. Collecting stamps, taking pictures. He was a Boy Scout. He must have had a hard time because he was a boy, but the Boy Scout uniform is so small for him, and all of his other clothes for boys would be too small. So the clothes at the store were too small for Robert. Of course they were too small. He goes into a store looking for boys' clothes, even men's clothes, they're too small because he's so tall. His feet were 47 centimeters long. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine that? Look at that. That's a normal shoe. That's Robert's shoe right there. Wow. Nobody makes shoes that big. He can't find shoes anywhere that would fit him. So, Robert needed custom clothes. Custom clothes. He had to go to a tailor. Remember before I taught you custom tailor? He had to go to a custom tailor and they would make clothes for him. Everything from his hat to his shirt to his pants to his shoes. He had to have everything custom made. So he needed custom clothes and shoes. His clothes were made just for him. Of course, nobody else could wear his clothes. If I put on his clothes, whew, I would seem like a little boy because, the sleeves would be down to here, right? I would be lost in his clothes. Maybe you couldn't see me, just his clothes. Okay. They were made to fit his big body. Okay? The clothes were made to fit his big body. Robert was also too big for cars, right? Robert lived during a time that people had cars, but he couldn't fit inside the car, right? He's too big. His head would touch the ceiling. His legs, where would he put his legs? So his father made their car bigger. How did the father make the car bigger? He moved the car seats to make room for. In other words, I've seen this before. There are some basketball players who are really big, and if they try to get in a small car, what they do is they take out the front seat and they sit in the back seat. But they're so big that their arms can still hold the wheel and push the pedals on the floor. The front seat's gone. They're sitting in the back seat of the car. So this is probably what Robert's father did. Move the seat, maybe take them out, right? So Robert would sit in the back seat, but it's like he's in the front seat. Okay. Robert grew to be 272 centimeters. 272 centimeters? Wow. That's really tall, right? By the time he was age 22, when he was an adult, that's how high, that's how tall he stopped growing at that time, right? He was a giant, of course, because if you look at him, if you meet him, even if I meet him, I'm looking up at him like this, right? That's really tall. His head touched the ceiling in many rooms, right? So many houses were too small for him. Since Robert was so big, he ate a lot of food. Well, that makes sense, right? You think about a really big person, a really tall person, they need more food because they have a larger body, right? They need more energy to help make their body strong and to move it around, to exercise. So he ate about 4 times as much as most people, right? He ate 4 times. So if I sit down and I eat 1 hamburger, Robert would sit down same time and eat 4 hamburgers, right? To get the same amount of energy and nutrition that I get from 1 hamburger, right? That's crazy. If I eat 1 small pizza, he eats 4 small pizzas. Wow. Okay, maybe that's why he was 220 kilograms. So that's, you think about 220 kilograms, you think, wow, that's fat. No, because he was so tall. Remember his picture, right? He wasn't that fat. He was still thin. It's just, that's a lot of weight, but very tall, right? So he wasn't a fat man. He was a slim or normal body shape, but he was really, really tall, and he weighed 220 kilograms. Wow, very amazing person. Okay, so now let's go over the reading comprehension questions. Question number 1, again, we're asking, what is the whole story about? We talked about many things in this story, but what was the main subject, the main topic in the reading passage? Here we have A, this story is about big clothes. B, a large body, baby, not body, baby. C, Boy Scouts. And D, a giant. So let's go over them. This story is about big clothes. Well, yes, we talked about big clothes, but that was only a small part of what we talked about, right? That was not the main subject of our reading passage. What about B? This story is about a large baby. Not really. Remember, we said that Robert Wadlow was a normal-sized baby. So there was no mention of a large baby in the passage. And that's not what it's about anyway. C, Boy Scouts. Was the passage about Boy Scouts? If the passage was about Boy Scouts, it would talk about who the Boy Scouts are, when did that organization get started, who are some famous Boy Scouts, but we didn't hear that information. We didn't see that information. We only saw a short mention that Robert Wadlow was a Boy Scout. It wasn't the main topic, right? The main topic of the reading passage was about Robert Wadlow. D, a giant. Let's think about that. If the main subtopic of the passage was Robert Wadlow, what can we say about Robert Wadlow? He was very tall, right? He was really tall. He was a giant. So we could say that D is the right answer. This story is about a giant, right? Robert Wadlow is a giant. So we can say this story is about a giant. We could also say this story is about Robert Wadlow, right? Because he is a giant. We can use either one. He is a giant, so this story is about a giant. Okay, number 2. As a boy, Robert Wadlow, A, B, C, D, what was he? He was 272 centimeters tall. B, he was normal sized. C, he didn't like helping people. D, he collected stamps. Which is true about Robert Wadlow? Okay, well, let's take a look. A, he was 272 centimeters tall. Check the reading. When was he 272 centimeters tall? You will see when he was 22 years old, not when he was a boy, so that's not correct. As a boy, he was normal sized. No, remember when he was 4 years old, he was already as tall as many adults. So that's not right. See, he didn't like helping people. No, that's not right. He was a Boy Scout. Boy Scouts like to help people. And the reading said specifically, he liked to help people. D, he collected stamps. Ah, that's the answer, right? Because the reading said, as a boy, he liked to collect stamps, take pictures. He liked to do things that ordinary, normal boys like to do. And one of those things was collecting stamps. So as a boy, Robert Wadlow collected stamps. Okay, number 3. Robert's clothes were beep made. So remember, Robert, when he was growing up, he had a hard time finding clothes that fit him. So were his clothes normal? No, they weren't normal. They didn't fit him. Were stamps made? That just doesn't make any sense, so that's not correct. Robert's clothes were custom made. Ah, that's the answer, because we were talking about if something is custom made, they're made just for you or some particular person. Robert had to go to a custom tailor to get his clothes made. So C is the right answer. What about D? Minuscule. Maybe you don't know this word. This is a Himdoro word. Minuscule. Minuscule means very, very, very tiny. Chagan. Yeah, it's very, very small. Minuscule is really tiny. So that's not the right answer. Robert was big, right? He didn't need minuscule clothes. He needed really big clothes, and they had to be custom made. So Robert's clothes were custom made. They were made custom for him. 4. Robert was so big that his father had to do what? Remember we were talking about something about the car, right? What did his father have to do? A, use a ladder to hug him. The reading didn't mention anything about that. That's kind of silly, really. He had to build a bigger house. That makes sense, but it wasn't mentioned in the reading. We didn't see anything about that in the reading. His father had to make clothes for him. Was his father a tailor? The reading didn't say anything about his father making clothes for him. It just said that clothes had to be made for him, but it didn't say who made those clothes. We just have to guess that it was a tailor. D, make their car bigger. Aha, that's what the reading said, right? His father had to make their car bigger. We talked about that. He probably had to take out the seats or move the seats. Probably Robert sat in the back seat. But it did say specifically his father had to make their car bigger. So Robert was so big that his father had to make their car bigger. Okay? Okay, let's review here. Wow, there's the big picture again. As you can see, Robert Wadlow, here's his middle name, Robert Pershing Wadlow, was really, really tall. Here's a normal boy, right? He comes up to the waist. His mother is only here, not even as high as his elbow. Here's probably a normal-sized man here. Of course, he's not on the same height. He's about that much. But if we take that much and put it up here, right? That only comes up to just about over his elbow, right? So Robert Wadlow was a really, really tall man. And even though he weighed 220 kilograms, he wasn't fat. He was actually kind of slim, right? Let's take a look at him. Now, when he was born, he was a normal-sized baby. Nobody knew he would be he would grow to be so tall because he was a normal-sized baby. Also, what can we say? By age 10, I was 200 centimeters tall and weighed 100 kilograms. So at age 10, he was already taller than most of these people. He grew to be 272 centimeters by age 22, and that's his height here, 272 centimeters. Wow, that's really, really tall. He was a giant. So we're talking about in this unit, we're talking about people's bodies, right? The body. And we can see that this is an example of a person who had a very unusual body. He was very, very tall. So tall that we can call him a giant. He is the tallest man in history. So, very interesting lesson today. I hope you've learned a lot of new words and some interesting facts about the world we live in, as usual. We'll see you guys next time. Take care.